So, today's video is about two chapters. That would be Aunt Marge's Big Mistake and The Night Bus. And as you can see by the title, since Aunt Marge is so fond of dog metaphors, I'll be using them too. Because I actually find this title helps to really explore some of the themes we're seeing in these chapters. Before I get started, I'm going to show off my most recent Christmas present from my brother. I'll be representing Gryffindor today. I'm actually a Hufflepuff, but my brother is certainly a Gryffindor, and it tends to be something a Gryffindor tendency to just go with it. So, I like it. I love it. It's my favorite thing, and he's given me a very clear hint, and even I would wear that shirt. Okay. I'm now on the trek to try and find a Gryffindor shirt before my brother's upcoming birthday. We'll see how all that goes. Right, chapters. Okay, what we're actually seeing in this chapter is this really neat idea of being backed into a corner and what that can result in. But before we can look at that part, we sort of have to look at the normalcy that's expected of people. Harry and Vernon have this interesting push and pull in the start of Aunt Marge's Big Mistake. Because of course, Vernon says very directly what he expects of Harry. And Harry has learned, because he's been taught with the Dursleys' own behavior. He's learned he's got to get as much as he can from this because nobody's going to hand him anything. So he's learned that the best way to work with the Dursleys is to basically act like Vernon does. He's got this vague threat going on with Vernon of what happens if I accidentally let slip to Aunt Marge that I don't go to the school of what's it for criminal boys and I'm actually a wizard. What's stopping me from doing that? And I mean, this is the behavior that, while the Dursleys might not like it, it's actually what they've taught Harry to use. Because this is exactly how they themselves operate towards Harry. They're not... One should never expect to teach a person behavior and then not have that behavior turned on them. If you're teaching a person to act a certain way, you really should actually expect them to act that way. And sometimes you do, and then other times in teaching them behavior, you're actually trying to teach them a different behavior, but subconsciously you've taught them. Like, this is the Dursleys with Harry. They're trying to cow him. Instead, what they've taught him to do is basically get what he needs to get any way he needs to. We're really seeing the Slytherin aspect of Harry in this moment. Because how many Gryffindors would back down? Like, in the first place. Not a lot. And then we even see this in a lot of ways with Sirius. Because we haven't met this man yet, Sirius Black. And we're already expecting certain behavior from him, from his previous behavior. We're expecting him to be violent and terrifying and scary. And he's this threat that exists somewhere outside of where we are right now, that's looming. So we're scared of him. And Harry's scared of him because the Muggles know about him. He's got to be scary enough that the wizards have told the Muggles at least something about this man. And the fact that he's killed 13 people with one curse, that is amazing for a wizard. Particularly a wizard like Harry, who's just learning this. He hasn't interacted with the ability to really harm anyone that directly. He's interacted with people trying to harm him, but I think for him it's, again, a behavioral thing. He's expecting people to come at him because he's the odd man out. He's the different one. he's never had to really interact with major harm and death caused to other people as of yet. Petrification, yes, but not death. And so it's a wake-up call for him. This is the behavior to expect from this person, just like he's used the behavior that's expected of him. The problem is, and this is where our title comes in, is when he and Black get pushed into corners. When enough is enough, you're always going to snap at some point. That's why they say that demons run when a good man goes to war, because even the best man, if pushed too far, is done. And he'll take you out if he needs to. And so we're actually seeing that with Harry. Harry's acted quite Slytherin with his family up to this point, but Marge pushes him with insulting his family. And twice he loses control. The first time he is able to extract himself from the situation. That's the moment where if there's something wrong with the bitch, there's something wrong with the pup. And Harry's able to leave. And Marge, again, not expecting magical behavior, writes off what's actually happened. Because she's only expecting what she believes she's going to see, and not what Harry actually is. And Harry's finally showing exactly who he is, and what he's capable of. But Marge can't see it, but everyone else can. And they're sort of like, eh. And the reason why he's showing this behavior, and this unexpected behavior, is Marge is pushing him too far. You don't insult someone's parents, even if you think they are degenerate. That is their child. And their child, even if they can't acknowledge there's something wrong with the parents, most children, somewhere deep down, are going to feel something for their parents. And Harry happens to know the truth. So he can't just sit there and listen to Marge insult his parents. He's been backed into a corner, and he's really willing to fight about it. Like, he accidentally blows Marge up. Like, he doesn't do that with his wand out, like, saying a spell. Like, he accidentally does it. But just look at how his magic reacts. Like, his magic allows that to happen, but allows him also to continue acting as he needs to act. He opens the cupboard door under the stairs to get his things without even trying. Like, no magic, no picking the lock, like, his magic just responds. He's been pushed too far, and his magic is reacting accordingly. So while we're seeing a different behavior here, there is a strong possibility, in some ways, that we're actually seeing a correct behavior. He's being threatened, so it's either fight or flight. And he's fought enough to get out, and now he's fleeing. And he continues to fight enough, because Vernon comes at him, and the wand comes out, because he's basically like, no, I know exactly what you're thinking, and you will back off. He's been pushed too far, and he needs to react. And this is the thing we need to keep in mind. If you're going to put a dog into a corner, even a dog that you think you have cowed, you put that dog into a corner with no way out, and you're going to get behavior like this. It's exactly what's happened with Black. Oddly enough, of course, we have to try and figure out what has put him into that corner, because he's been in Azkaban for 12 years. So what now has finally, like, presented itself that Black now needs to fight and flee as he does? Because apparently it's not being in Azkaban. That happened 12 years ago. If that's the reason, he would have had plenty of time to get out. But there's something happening now. But they're not looking... The wizarding government is not looking at what has happened now. They've made the assumption that they know, which is he's figured out that Harry's at Hogwarts. The thing is, Sirius is Harry's godfather. Sirius is well aware when Harry was born. But it then becomes this question of why isn't the government paying attention to why now? And that's because they're paying attention to the abnormal behavior. Sirius is the first person to ever be able to break out of Azkaban. And so that's their focus. Just like with the Dursleys, their focus is on the fact that Harry blew up Aunt Marge. No one is acknowledging the fact that if you push a person to their limits, they are going to respond. Because that then puts at least some of the blame for all of this onto other people. Onto Harry's family for one, and onto the government for another. And none of them want to take responsibility. Did any of the Dursleys tell Marge, hey, you know, maybe insulting a dude's parents, particularly since they're dead, is not a great plan? Nah, because this is her normal behavior, and Harry can just suck it up. Hey, has anyone told the government that maybe putting even the worst of criminals in a horrible situation where you were in constant pain and fear and hurt isn't a great plan? It's certainly not going to reform criminals, but that tells us a lot about the Wizarding world. If they're not considering any reform from their criminals at all. Like, they're not thinking about reform here. They're thinking simply of containing, and it never once occurs to them that maybe their system isn't as impregnable as they thought, and when somebody slips out of it, and will continue to slip out of it as we see in the future, that they're just gone. They're no longer functioning properly. You can't expect them to be proper citizens. Of course you're afraid of Black. It's because you ruined him for 12 years. But again, that says that maybe this abnormal behavior is caused by something other than the degenerate person themselves. And that means we'd have to consider how our government's built and how we respond to one another, and that's just too much work. No, it's not. If you push a dog into a corner, that dog is going to bite you. And it ain't gonna be the dog's fault most of the time. At least not completely. And that's my final question before I let you go. These two chapters have a whole lot of dog imagery. Marge likes to use a lot of dog imagery, and we can think, oh, that's simply Marge, except it does carry on to the next chapter. Not as clearly, of course, but when Harry sees the thing in the alley, Harry associates it to a dog. It's bigger, but dog. So what here, in these chapters, in this book, or in this series, are dogs standing in for? What are they representative of? Just like the Phoenix is representative of this hero cycle that Harry's in. What are dogs to this book and to this series? And I haven't quite figured it out yet. So any suggestions you might have, very appreciated. And I'm going to keep looking into it, because I don't think this is just here for, oh, dogs are cool. I think there's something that dogs are pointing at here. And I want to try and figure that out. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading, and I hope you guys do too. And I'll see you in a week. Bye! Also, I made Hagrid's cake.